Echo Part 8. The monsters are due on Jasmynn Street. Leo wakes me up early the next day, telling me he has to settle some stuff with his dad at the shop. I don't get much of a chance to ask why, or for how long before he's out the door, yelling something about food being in the fridge. I immediately fall back asleep though. When I open my eyes again, it's 2 hours later. A text from Leo half an hour ago tells me that he's still at the shop, will be back soon, he thinks. I lay around for another 20 minutes before grabbing my phone to browse a bit. That's when I realised I hadn't charged it last night, my battery at just 25%. I groan and throw an arm over my eyes. One day left to do the project. I'm so far behind though, that I'm not even feeling any anxiety about it at this point. Just resigned. I should have known better, really. I wasn't getting anything done with Leo around. I stared at the wall for a while longer before I forced myself to sit up. No use lying around. I might not be making my best project, but it didn't mean I couldn't do a few things to make it less terrible. Food momentarily crosses my mind, but I shrug it off. I'd never been a breakfast person anyway. As soon as I leave the house, I notice things are a bit off. Firstly, it's dead quiet. Usually there is some kind of drone, whether it's the wind or a plane overhead. There's usually something. No sound of birds either, and those are always chirping in the morning. I stand in the doorway for a bit, feeling a vague sense of tension, electricity in the air. Something building. I shake my head, feeling dizzy. Well, that dream last night had fucked me up in all kinds of ways, so it's not surprising it's probably still messing with me. I'll be glad to be gone from this place tomorrow. Some rustling next door draws my attention, and I see Kudzu, carrying a set of clippers, walk across his front yard. I open my mouth to say hi, but I hold back, feeling self-conscious. His brooding nature was a bit intimidating. I don't know if he's the kind of person who expects a greeting or not. I'm not left to wonder long though, because he spots me almost immediately and raises a hand. Morning. Oh, hey there. He grunts before setting his attention on a bush in front of him, sizing it up. I stand there awkwardly for a bit longer, wondering if that's the end of our exchange, but he speaks up again. Leo take off? He nods his head at the empty driveway. Oh, yeah, earlier this morning. I walk down from the porch and walk over to the edge of Leo's lawn, so it doesn't feel like we're yelling at each other. Said something about having to take care of business with his dad. I see. Kudzu stops trimming and looks up at me before smiling. You can come on my lawn. It's not like I have an electric fence or anything. Looking down, I see that I'm toeing the edge of his immaculate lawn on Leo's side, looking like a little kid. I blush before stepping over to crunch along the tan-coloured gravel he'd set out. It's weird how nice it all is, especially compared to the shitty trailer sitting in the middle of it all. If he had an adobe-styled house, the place would be southwestern perfection. This all looks really nice. I guess gardening is your hobby? Thanks. Kudzu snips at the bush rather aggressively. I like it. It's what I do most of the day. The raccoon moves to the side of the bush, examining it. It's peaceful. He gives the bush another snip before resting a hand on his hip while he lets the clippers dangle in the other. And it keeps you in shape. I can't argue with that. Although he's skinny, the muscles showed through the fur on his arms. He's probably the most in-shape guy I've seen in Echo. I realise I'm staring and quickly snap my eyes back to his, but he's already smirking. I worry he's about to point out that he's caught me, but instead he gestures at my camera bag with his clippers. Gonna do something for your project? Yeah, need to get a bit more film before I leave tomorrow. The slender raccoon wipes his forehead with a forearm. Anything in particular? I think. Not really, just old stuff to show the town's age. Kudzu sticks the clippers into the ground, looking up as he seems to think. I know of a few things. You go to the old school? Yeah, was headed there actually. And then there's the ruins next to the lake. Yeah, I was going to wait for Leo to drive me there later today. Other than that, there's an old rusted pump up the road. But I don't know if that's actually from Echo's earlier days. Couldn't hurt to look. Where is it exactly? Kudzu points over my shoulder up the road. Down past Duke's house, right before the convenience store. It's kind of hidden back in some brush, but I can take you there. Oh, if it's no trouble. It's fine. I've got plenty of time to do this today. Well, all right, thanks. I shift the bag on my shoulder and stand to the side as Kudzu tosses the clippers beside the bush, then starts walking towards the road. I follow him quietly, again feeling awkward under his no-nonsense attitude. So you and Leo getting along? Yeah, we're having fun. Good. He's been looking forward to this week for a while now. I wasn't sure about it last week. I'm somewhat surprised that it's Kudzu filling in the silence between us. Not that I mind. He's pretty damn good at it for such a somber guy. I smile. Yeah, that's Leo. He really misses our old pack. Kudzu huffs out a laugh. Wolves. I agree. Wolves. As we walk, I can smell the heavy musk coming from the raccoon, mingled with his scent neutralizer, evidence of a hard day's work. There's something special about hanging out with another musky creature. It makes you less self-conscious. So I know you hate Peyton. Don't you have to go back there for work? Well, back in the day, I had a job studying desert plants after college. Good times. That would definitely put him a few steps above most everyone living in Echo, where a high school diploma is a rare thing. I'm a clerk in the town hall, so no, I'm pretty much always here. Always? Do you have a car? Sold it after I came here. Wow, don't you have to get out to shop for food? Sometimes. I grow and fish what I can, and the convenience store has a surprisingly good produce section, but otherwise Leo gives me rides once in a while. Ah, gotcha. Again, I'm curious about what exactly happened in Peyton. I'm going to be gone by tomorrow, and I don't find the question to be too intrusive, especially with all the information he's provided me so far. So I don't want to be nosy. I let the statement hang for a moment, and Kudzu turns his head towards me. Then maybe you shouldn't ask? That stops me short, and I almost stop walking. I feel my face get warm even under the heat of the sun. I glance over at the raccoon, but his expression isn't accusatory or angry. It's just as neutral as it always is. It makes me wonder if this is just the raccoon's way of speaking. I already know how blunt he can be. I decide to trust what little I know about him and press forward. No? I ask it with the same straight face. Well, you should always ask yourself if asking something nosy is a good idea. No reason to do it if it's going to piss someone off needlessly. Ah. But before I can even consider, Kudzu goes on. Now, considering what we were just talking about, I can probably guess what you're going to ask. I can feel the embarrassment returning. Yeah? But before I answer it, I have a question for you. I shrink a little more into myself. Yeah? Why do you care? This question definitely catches me by surprise, and at first I wonder if this is just Kudzu's way of telling me to shut up. But again, after looking at his face, I decide to just tell him the truth. I clear my throat. Well, I like you. You're a cool guy. It comes out rather lamely, but it is the truth. He has a demeanour of not really giving a fuck about what others think of him. It's like Flynn, except Kudzu didn't seem like he was putting up a front at all. On top of that, he'd stepped in to stop a crowbar-wielding drug addict when he saw his friend in danger. Kudzu laughs, genuinely, and it's a bit startling. That's really the reason? I'm flustered again. Well, yeah. Fair enough, and I like you too. Leo's mostly right about you. What did Leo say about me? A lot of things. You can't expect a wolf as love-smitten as he is to not exaggerate, can you? No, I guess not. I step on a particularly large rock and nearly lose my balance. Before I can even stumble though, Kudzu's grasping my arm tightly, stopping me from running into him. Whoa, sorry. Thanks. This raccoon had damn fast reflexes. No problem. I start to walk again, but Kudzu doesn't move. I stop and glance at him, but he's looking up the road, not me. I lost someone in Peyton. It takes me a moment to realise what he's talking about, but then I do. A guy with a gun who didn't give a fuck. I swallow and don't say anything, looking down at the ground. Happened on the same street we lived on. Of course I have no idea what to say and wait for Kudzu to go on, but he doesn't. When I look up I see that he's looking right at me. I swallow. Yeah, that would make me want to move too. Yeah, people, and there's less of them here. I'm sorry. Kudzu just looks back at me. Why? I open my mouth before I can say anything. Kudzu smiles. Get in. I let my breath out in relief and laugh a little. Well, should we keep going? I make as if to walk up the road again, but Kudzu doesn't follow. When I look back, he nods at the brush on the side of the road. It's right in here. I wasn't expecting much, and I'm not disappointed as we come up on the pump. Mostly it's just a rusted piece of metal sticking out of the ground. Kudzu seems a bit put off by how lame it is himself. Smaller than I remember it being. It's something at least. I'll get a few shots out of it. I start unpacking the camera from the bag, a bit reluctant to do it for something so insignificant. How'd you find this thing anyway? I look towards the road, which is basically hidden by the dense brush in front of me. Needed to take a piss? I know my house is right there, but peeing outside is liberating. Ah. Speaking of which, I'm going to go do that. He pauses. I can do it in front of the pump if you'd like, for effect. I force a laugh, wonder if this is the first time I've heard the raccoon make a joke. At least I hope it's a joke. My laughing turns to a groan though when I see the battery level. First my phone, now this. What's up? Kudzu asked me from a bit deeper in the brush, facing away from me. Oh, my battery's low. Not gonna have enough for the school. I'll have to go back and grab a spare. No, well, why don't you finish the footage for the pump while I run back and grab you another battery? You sure? Well, yeah, it'll be faster. I've been in this house a few times. Where's it at? In a dock, on his desk next to his computer. Alright, I'll be back. And with that, Kudzu jogs off out of the brush and back onto the road. Within a minute, I feel like I have all the footage I can get out of the pump. I sigh and rub my face, glad to be at least out of the sun, but annoyed that I've gotten so little footage for it. As I'm doing this, I hear what sounds like a gag behind me. I perk my ears and look back. I hear it again, but it's softer, more of a grunt this time. I'm almost positive the Kudzu didn't go that way. I can't imagine who else it would be. Kudzu? I wonder if maybe the heat has gotten to him. I know how dangerous a heat stroke can be. Getting a little worried, I start moving further into the brush. Again, I hear a gag and it's much louder this time. Kud? You alright? I start pushing deeper with a bit more urgency, and not 20 yards in I come into a clearing. The ground is covered in dead grass and the sun hits me again with a vengeance. I blink furiously, eyes watering at the brightness of the clearing and the blazing red behind my eyelids. After a few seconds I'm able to pry my eyes open. The first thing I notice is a peeling trail to the right pressed up into the trees. I have some vague memories of a trailer back here where a grumpy badger used to live. Straight in front of me in the meadow is a dead tree, one with dry, gnarled branches that twist up into the sky. The tree itself would be eerie enough, but it's what's under it that stops me dead. It takes a moment to comprehend what I see. Hanging from the lowest branch is a body, long and thin, emaciated down to the skeleton. I remain rooted to the spot, my mouth hanging open. Disgustingly, my mind immediately goes to the camera. I don't know why. Yeah, showing footage of a dead body to the whole class. Either get an A for being edgy or I'd fail for showing a fucking dead body. Probably expelled, actually. I feel my stomach starting to turn. I'm finally able to take my first step back. But then it moves. It's a quick jerk, one of the skeleton's hands reaching up spasmodically to its neck before slumping back down. With my eyes fully adjusted to the sun now, I recognise the colour of the fur, the build of that skeleton-like body. Clint! On unsteady feet I manage to stumble forward and reach out towards the ringtail, aiming to at least hold him up until I can shout Kudzu over to help. Somehow, though, he's able to spin and face me, his face an expression of mortified fury. His eyes are almost glowing with how bloodshot they are, and his twisted muzzle is covered in drool leaking down his chin onto his chest. Get back! Leave! What? Clint, what the hell are you doing? I move forward again, but Clint lashes out with a foot hitting me in the knee. That's when I see his toes are touching the ground, at least barely. I stare in confusion and look back up to meet Clint's furious eyes. Fucking leave! Spit flies from his muzzle as I take a step back, completely at a loss for words. I don't... His bulging eyes move from mine to look over my shoulder, and his enraged expression melts, eyes growing wider. Slowly I turn around and my vision is filled with a mountain of brown fur. My eyes take a moment to draw out and focus. When they do, I realise I'm actually looking at a bear. A huge one, even for a bear. Huge, naked, and carrying a long, thin branch, the bear stands in the direction I'd come from, grinning stupidly at me. Instinctively I widen my stance, eyes looking left and right. All reason seemingly left a land of echo, and now my brain is left to try and put the pieces of the crazy place together. I watch as a huge tongue sticks out from between the blubbery lips to lick at them, sliding slimily between the gaps of missing teeth. Once he's done with that, he breaks out into a grin again, those black lips shimmering under the sun. This a friend, cat? The weirdly high-pitched voice is about as startling as his size. I look back at Clint, who's still struggling to stand on his toes, clutching at the rope now. So hard finding a good switch back there. But it's worth it if in there two of yes. The squeak that comes out of my muzzle seems to perk the bear's stubby ears, and he licks his lips again as he eyes me up and down. I should get going. Sorry about seeing... Words fail me as the bear takes a step forward and I start sidestepping, preparing myself to make a run for it. The bear mimics my stance and my stomach drops as I see him take another step forward. I change my trajectory and back away instead. This time he doesn't follow me, just grins as he watches me move back into the brush. Clint struggles on the end of his rope, twirling around lazily as he tries to get a foothold. I get one last look at his face as he spins around, and I'm struck by the expression. For a moment I'm 9 years old again, running behind the buildings on Main Street, probably from imaginary foreign agents of some kind. When I hide behind a tree next to Clint's house, I hear the screen door open, and for several minutes I watch Clint breathing deeply into a rag. I'm too young to understand, but for some reason I know it's not good. When I finally decide to run away from my hiding spot, Clint looks up and we meet eyes. His are wide and wild, confused and hurt, just like now. I stumble into the brush, finally feeling like I'm far away enough to turn and really make a run for it. Kudzu is standing next to the pump when I get back, holding a battery. What? I grab his arm and yank him towards the road. Come on. I mutter it under my breath before jogging down the road, Kudzu close behind looking over his shoulder. It's not until we're at the end of the road turning onto Main Street before I'm able to slow myself down and tell Kudzu what happened. Holy shit, that's Brian. Who? I'm still panting, sweating heavily in the heat after the short jog down the street. Big ass bear that lives in the brush, right? He has a trailer in there. Well, I don't know him. Did he move here after I left? I thought a badger lived in that trailer. I assume so. He was here when I got here. Well, what the fuck was he doing? What the hell did I just see? My mind is still trying to process it. I don't have the answer. Can't say I'm surprised, though. Are you serious? That's like the most fucked up thing I've ever seen. Kudzu smirks. Well, I guess I'd have had to have been there, huh? I stare at him. Yeah, I guess. But from what I know of Brian, he's dumb and violent. Pretty sure he came here because he caused too much trouble in Peyton. It's Clint that's the fucked up part. He's a fucking homophobe, but he's doing that shit. I don't know much about Clint either. What I do know is that Brian is his dealer. Really? Well, really, the entire town's dealer. It made sense that Clint would need one in Echo, considering he's banned for life from driving after getting like 3 DUIs. I thought Jeremy did that. Carl told me that's where he gets his weed. Kudzu shrugs again. I assume Clint is using more than just marijuana. Huh. It's becoming clearer what kind of relationship Clint and the bear have. I shudder, just wishing I hadn't had to witness it. I already feel bad for Clint, but now... Kudzu holds out the battery still in his hand. Want to move to the school? Yeah, let's do that. The next hour is pretty uneventful, though I do get enough footage to the point where I'm satisfied. There is a point where I notice Duke down the road. He stands there for a while watching us as I'm getting different angles of the school. It's annoying, but even though he's a complete fuck-up, he likes to pretend like he's in control of things in Echo. Probably just promoting himself to sheriff of the town in his mind or something. I ignore him though, and the next time I look up he's gone. I turn my attention back to the project, finally able to calculate how much work I actually have left. Now most of my work is going to have to happen the night before the due date. I swallow, stomach churning at the thought. On the bright side, all of the stress is pushing the memory of Clint being hanged and whipped out of my mind. Later on I finally get another text from Leo, just before my phone dies. He's heading back finally. I manage to text back that I'm hungry and we should meet at the diner. He agrees to it and I invite Kudzu to come along. He tells me he can't stand diner food. He's going to go fishing anyway. It's too bad because I've really been enjoying the raccoon's company and fishing sounds relaxing. I try to exchange numbers with the raccoon, but my screen dies the moment I turn it on. Kudzu takes my number though and promises to text me. I'm feeling better walking to the diner. The town will be a lot less empty if I can hang around with someone like Kudzu after I move here, especially when Leo's not around. Leo's not in the diner when I get there. I pick a booth towards the back, resting my head against the patchy cushions and closing my eyes. The week's gone by so fast. Feels like only yesterday we actually got here. Thinking back, I remember worrying that everything was going to be awkward, that our past would catch up in the worst way possible. And it kinda did. We didn't fix or talk about anything. That gives me a jolt of realization and sadness. This whole time I'd been preoccupied with Leo and Leo with me. Wasn't Leo the one who was all concerned about us not keeping the pack together? This send-off feels empty and pointless. It's really the last time I might get hang out with some of them, mainly Jenna and TJ. And TJ had the most shit to air out. Did I fuck up by basically ignoring him this whole time? I feel a lump in my throat as I think about the hike I never went on with him. Sure, I'd figured things out with Leo, or at least temporarily. But now it feels like things I should have talked about with the others have been buried further. Even though I haven't seen the others for a few days, I can feel their resentment, knowing that Leo and I got what we wanted. Especially after leaving them to deal with the fallout of Flynn's meltdown. And now, because of that, it'll be harder to reach the root of the problem, harder to talk about it. And because of that, we probably never will. I glance at my dead phone, reminded of the complete lack of text from anyone other than Leo. I suppose this is life. Sometimes things are buried and never talked about again. And in a way, I guess that's for the best. Sydney's death will die with us. It just sucks that we all carry it, but can't rely on each other for support. I take a deep breath, wondering how long it'll take me to process this whole trip. Or maybe my entire life up to this moment. It's at this point I notice Janice hasn't come out to take my order. The diner itself is completely quiet. No old rockabilly coming over the staticky speakers. I look around, wondering if maybe the place is closed. I remember a few businesses didn't lock their doors. Mostly because of negligent employees, because burglary is somewhat common here. I look through the plastic window into the swinging door to the kitchen, past the counter, and notice that the fluorescent lights are definitely on. In fact, it looks like I can see some movement from shadows on the wall. I think about getting up and knocking on the door to let them know I'm here, but that's when the front doors push open. Leo comes in, a big grin on his face. Chula! I smile as he sweeps up to my side, leaning down to smooch me on the cheek. He starts groping me too, his hand sliding under my shirt. Leo! What? There's no one here? Yeah, actually. I was wondering about that. I turn to look back at the doors, but Leo immediately locks lips with me, forcing my head to face him again. I finally give in and kiss back, even giving the wolf some tongue, which he responds to enthusiastically. Eventually, he pulls back and takes his seat across from me, wiping his muzzle with a wink. You're affectionate today. Yeah, well, it's good to see you after the shit day I've had. I frown. Yeah? What happened? Dad being Dad. I told him I'd be busy this week. He made me work for a few hours. Well, money, right? Ha! They still consider my payment to be the house. They only give me enough for food. No telling how long they'll hold that over my head. That sucks. Yeah, but on the bright side, they'll probably lay off once you move in. It'll make me look more adult. Oh, is that why you're trying to get back with me? Leo smirks back at me and licks me right on the nose. Ugh, your breath. He looks hurt. Huh? I have bad breath? Smoke! Why are you still smoking? Oh, is that whole stop smoking thing starting now? Yes. It's been a stressful day, Otter. I had Duke try to start shit with me on the road. Duke? About what? Something about us. I don't know why, but he seems to think we're causing all his problems. I give Leo an incredulous look. What? Hey, I wasn't really listening. I was more interested in getting some food. Leo looks around. Where is everyone? That's what I was asking. Janice! Rude. What? They should be watching for customers. Doesn't mean you have to fucking scream. Leo doesn't respond, instead looking behind me, his expression one of confusion and shock. I turn in time to see Janice moving from behind the counter as the swinging door gently closes. Something's wrong. Janice had been acting strange all week, gradually looking more haggard and pissed off as time went on. Of course, I hadn't forgotten what had happened on the side of the road a few days back. I'd been content with just assuming it had been some type of drug-fueled adventure of hers. Now I'm convinced she's having a mental breakdown. Her fur is mussed up on every inch of her body. Her eyes are wild and wide, similar to how I'd seen Clint earlier. Blood is smeared across her apron. The handle of a knife sticks out of the front pocket. Janice? Are you okay? Leo's half standing. I'm not sure it's because he's afraid for her or of her. She doesn't say anything. As she sidles up next to our booth, I slide a bit towards the inside. Under her wild gaze, I'm feeling a little trapped. Janice? Sorry about that, boys. We're a little short on workers today. Like the chef? He's the only other employee as far as I know. Are you okay? Are you cooking? Leo gazes at her apron. Yes, I'm cooking today. What can I make you? I get the unnerving feeling that she isn't even looking at us. Leo glances back at me, to which I respond with a bewildered look of my own. You know, I think we might... Nonsense, I've got everything fired up in the kitchen. Leo doesn't respond, just stares at the big coyote. Janice smiles crookedly. Well, if you're not going to order something, I'll just make your favourite. With that, she turns and starts waddling off, having not even acknowledged me. What the fuck? I reach into my pocket, thinking about calling an ambulance for the poor woman. I whisper over to Leo. Should we leave? Maybe. But Leo doesn't move, just stares after Janice. I look out to the window to the sun-baked road. Have you noticed that something's off? About Janice? No shit. Not just her, the whole town. I think about mentioning the meadow with Clint and Brian, but I'm still trying to absorb that myself. Leo sits back, still looking back at the kitchen door where Janice disappeared. Honestly, people act so crazy here. I don't know if it's because of the drugs or because they're actually crazy. I see his nose twitch. And I don't think she knows how to cook. Something smells funny in there. I look back out of the window. I haven't been paying much attention to the town the past few days, being infatuated with Leo. Sure, I'd seen some weird things, but it seems in my absence everything's gone to the fucking wacky shack. I look at Leo. Have you been noticing any of this weird shit going on? Leo sighs. Again, I never know what's weird or not here. I guess I've noticed a few things. I frown. Were you just hoping I wouldn't notice? Leo doesn't say anything. Instead, he just goes on staring at the kitchen. Would he really just let me blindly move to this town when he knew everyone was going crazy? Looking out the window, I notice a figure moving up the street, jogging. A feline. TJ? Is that Teach? Leo glances out of the window. Looks like it. Out for a jog, of course. The wolf turns his attention back to the counter as Janice comes out, a messy, dribbling milkshake in her hand. Hey, Janice, what are you cooking back there? I glance at the crazy coyote as she wobbles over to us, staring at the milkshake with wide eyes. Oh, you know, meat. Leo lets out a hollow laugh. What kind of meat? I'll be honest with you, it's a bit tough and stringy. I lose interest in their conversation, instead look back out at TJ. I feel like something's off for sure. He's a ways away, but he looks kind of afraid. One of his hands reaches out to bat at something. Something's wrong. I mutter under my breath and start to stand, set on getting out there to see what's going on with him. But at that moment, a truck pulls into the parking lot right in front of our window. I find myself staring right at Duke. I also see something big in the back of his pickup, a brown furred head peeking over the roof. Duke. Leo snaps his head over to look out the window. As the weasel gets out of his truck, I see something in his hand. A gun. Shit. Language, Leo. He's bringing in a gun. Leo reaches across the table for me. Not while I'm here. Janice. But she's already striding over the doors just as Duke pushes through them. Chase, get down. But Duke spots us immediately. I told you not to fucking run away from me. He starts towards our table, but Janice on her way towards the kitchen intercepts him. Duke, is that a gun? I am not going to have you barging in here to ruin the peace. She sticks her bulky body in his way. Get the fuck out of my way, cunt. Language. It's as if Janice doesn't notice there's the fucking gun being waved around next to her face. I reach out and grab Leo's arm, trying to pull him down. Call the police, my phone's dead. Leo slowly sits, then looks around. The only exit is at the front. We're trapped. You don't think there's fuckers behind all this? You've been seeing that lot around you too, haven't you? I'm not concerned with that anymore. I've made things right. You're not fucking concerned that what happened to our grandparents is happening to us? I won't ask you to leave again. Her voice is threatening. From this angle I can't see her hands, but I can see she's reaching for something. Oh my god. Chase, get down. Leo's voice is bizarrely calm. As he reaches over to me, I can feel him shake. He presses down on my shoulder, and as I'm about to slide under the table, I see Janice move forward. Then I cover my head and cower against the booth under the table. Leo shouts and yanks me up against his side, covering me with his arms. I hear him breathe heavily into my ear, and I stare wide-eyed from under the booth, unable to see the dirty beige wall opposite us. Leo's breathing is all I can hear. Otherwise it's silent. Then I hear Duke muttering something under his breath, followed by soft, padding footsteps. A few seconds later, his legs come into view and his feet turning to face us. I see the gun dangling from one hand before he raises it slightly, pointing it at us. I close my eyes. How did this happen? Just seconds ago, Leo and I were laughing and chatting. Now I'm about to fucking die. I keep my eyes tightly closed, hugging to Leo as hard as I can, and wait. But nothing happens. I keep my face pressed into Leo's chest, though, wondering if I'm already dead. Finally, Duke speaks. Leo, out. Otter, you stay there. I feel Leo hesitate against me, then his lips press against my ear. It'll be okay, baby. Just stay here. Slowly he untangles my arms from around him, and with his hands up he pushes out from under the table and stands up. Face the wall. Leo hesitates and Duke growls. I ain't gonna fucking kill you. We're just figuring out what's happening is all. Killing you doesn't fix anything. The last guy got killed and that didn't fix shit. You shot Janice. 'Cause she got my fucking way, but it don't matter. Everything's fucked up now. Leo turns to face the wall slowly. I watch from the space between the table and the booth. What do you want? To fix this fucking town. You're starting something with this otter. This has all happened before. Duke looks out the window and makes a come-on motion with his hand. We're going to stop this from happening this time. Leo looks to the left. But you fucking killed Janice. I hear the wolf's voice break slightly. Won't matter in the long run. The doors rattle as someone comes in. You got the zip ties? Hands behind your back, Leo. Leo looks at whoever just came in. Come on. Now! Slowly Leo does as he's told, and I see a pair of massive paws reach forward to bind the wolf's wrists. I swallow hard as I watch Brian pull the zip tie tight. Duke puts a forearm to his nose. Fuck, you stink. Hope you didn't kill that ringtail. We can use him. Brian just grins and responds, his teeth yellow. My heart sinks as I think about Clint. Had he been warning me to run? Why had I thought that him hanging from the tree like that was probably just a normal thing for him and the bear? Was he a victim of whatever crazy had just hit the town? That must have been what was going on. All of this is hitting at once. It can't be a coincidence. Clint was probably just as scared as I am now. Grab the otter and tie him up too. Just stick him in your trailer for now. My stomach drops. Duke gestures with his gun again. Come on, out. My legs are lead. I can't move. Leo looks over his shoulder at me and the fear in his eyes scares me even more. His muzzle moves, mouthing something. Run. But still, I can't move. I've never been so scared in my life. It's like everything is numb. Brian doesn't care though and moves forward, look on his face eager. The gun goes off again. Everyone, including Brian, jumps and I hit the floor with my hands over my head. Fuck! Fuck! I look up and see Duke, eyes extra wild, dancing around, pointing the gun upwards at the ceiling. Fuck, you see that? She's crawling round up there. I told you she's on my ceiling every night watching me. Brian's looking up too, and for the first time his face is twisted into an expression that isn't stupidly grinning. It's full of fear. But when I look up I see nothing. Chase! Leo hisses at me and that jolts me back to reality. Without even willing myself to do it, I shoot out from under the table. In front of me are two exits, the front doors and the kitchen door, which is closer. There has to be an exit in the kitchen, but I'm not sure of that. My legs are already making me run though, and I have to choose now. I have no idea if that kitchen has an exit, and there's no way I can risk it. Don't look back, Chase. Go as fast as you can. As I charge down the aisle, I almost trip over the large form of Janice. She's laying on her stomach, hands outstretched. A smear of red leads to the knife a few feet in front of her. I don't have time to dwell on it as I leap over her body, then charge through the doors. The bright sun and heat contrast heavily with the cool dimness of the diner, but I don't have time to wait for my eyes to adjust. I take off down the road, and a few seconds later I hear the doors smash. Something larger and heavy comes right after me. I don't look back. I gasp and wheeze as I run up the road and turn onto Leo Street. No one's around, and aside from the dull thumping some distance behind me, it's completely silent. Something terrible has happened. And not just in the diner, the entire town. I'm not sure I decided to run for Leo's house, but my mind is numb and reasoning is gone. Briefly I think about Kudzu, but as I run past his yard I don't see any sign of him. I don't have time to try his door. I slam into Leo's door, pushing it open as I do. I slam it back shut and lock it with a deadbolt, then take off down the hall for Leo's room. I hear the doorknob turning back and forth as something heavy slams into it. I don't even know if Leo has a landline, and look left and right wildly, not spotting a single thing that might be a telephone. I reach Leo's room and shut the door, wishing it had a lock. Jump into the outlet with my wall charger, I clumsily take my phone out of my pocket. It takes 3 tries to successfully jam the damn thing into my phone. Bouncing with terror, I watch as the screen lights up, giving me the battery charging symbol. Not enough power for it to power on. Something shatters just down the hall and I almost piss myself. It's followed by silence. I don't dare to even breathe. And then the house seems to shake as the bear ambles about looking for me. I get down on my knees and try to squeeze up under the desk. I look at my phone again, but it's still at 0%. I'm out of time. The door swings open with a crash and the bear spots me instantly. He rushes at me and I let out an involuntary scream. I dive out from under the desk as soon as he's on top of me and I try to roll away. He's big but slow as hell as I manage to get to my feet. It's then that I remember Leo's gun. Just as I flick my eyes in that direction, though, he lunges at me and swings a huge fist at my face. I jerk back, but he still clips my chin, sending me into a spin and my world into blackness. I stare at the floor, mind wandering in circles. There's heavy breathing above me, and as I get to my hands and knees, something impacts my side so hard it sends me rolling into the wall. I stare at the ceiling, lungs broken as I writhe around for air. The bear obscures my vision, then reaches down to grab me by the shirt and yank me up. He stares at me and I stare back before he swings me into the wall again and my vision goes dim. He does it again, then again. On the fifth swing, the dimming finally turns to black. The darkness that surrounds me is painful. I feel like I'm floating in a black sea and nothing about it is comforting or peaceful. It's like a fitful doze when you have a really bad fever. It feels awful and murky and sick. I feel my head tilt back and the lightning bolt arcs through my head. I try to open my eyes, but they only manage to flutter and I see flashes of red above me. Something is hooked under my back and I'm dangling from it. I imagine a rope tied around me, holding me above the dark abyss below. Is this hell? I grit my teeth as the searing red becomes too much to look at and I close my eyes again. This must be a nightmare, one that feels too real. I've had them before and I know how to deal with them. Just need to go back to sleep to drift off and I'll wake up in my bed. Go back to sleep and wake up back in my dorm. Wait, an echo? I try to think, try to prod back into my memories. Where was I last? What was the last thing I remember doing? Trying to remember is monumental, more than I can handle, and fortunately I drift back into unconsciousness. I'm pulled back into the sickly dark as something jolts my body. I grimace and gasp. I'm filled with such a feeling of unprovoked loneliness and despair that I actually feel my eyes watering and the sob escapes my mouth. I hear a soft chuckle above me and I go quiet. I still don't know where I am or what's going on at all. That laugh is enough to tell me I don't want to be where I am. The feeling of hanging from a rope is gone now. Instead, I'm lying on something flat and hard. My arms and legs are spread out. The air is cool now. My skin is cold and wet, like I've been sweating a lot. The feeling is especially strong along my back and I want to roll over, but I can't. Something is holding my arms down. There's a rattling sound when I try to move. I moan and try to open my eyes again, though it's almost like they're glued shut. With a little more effort, I manage to crack one open. At first, all I see is a blur of colours above me, and I have to blink a few times to clear it. Slowly, the image comes together. I'm able to make out that someone is there above me. I feel my blood run cold, realising that someone has been watching me this whole time. But I'm lying down. How is someone on the ceiling? I try to speak, but only a dry, crackling squeak comes out of my throat. At this point, my vision is cleared enough to make out an otter. An otter? I squint. A blue shirt, beige pants. I gasp and reflexively try to draw back from the thing. Was it me? It smiles. How? The flat surface I'm lying on tilts precariously and my stomach lurches. I try to clutch at the surface, though there's nothing to grab onto. I shut my eyes and gag as I feel my stomach swirling around inside me. All I can do is pray for it to stop, feeling like everything around me is about to fall over. The ache in my head is magnified tenfold, and tears start to leak from my eyes. Just when I think I'm about to slip off the face of the earth, the ground starts to tilt back the other way. I swallow and gasp for air, my entire body shaking and sweating all over. I feel like I've been swimming too long and my body is exhausted. What the hell is going on? I remember that someone was staring down at me from the ceiling. I open my eyes again, fearful. I cringe as I see that same otter staring down at me, the otter that's clearly wearing the same clothes as I am. But now it's not smiling. The tear-stained expression is on its face. It's a mirror. A mirror on the ceiling? I try to sit up but come up short, gagging as something tightens around my neck. I try to move my hands to whatever it is, and that doesn't work either. That same rattling sound I heard earlier makes me look towards my right hand. What I see makes my blood freeze. Around my wrist is what looks like a leather strap. I desperately look to my other hand and find the same result. Looking at my feet, I see the same contraptions fixed to my ankles. When I try to lift one of my feet, I see metal glinting from underneath, making me think that the leather is bolted into the platform. Panic rises up in my chest and I kick my feet and try to flail my hands, but the straps hold firm to what looks like wooden planks. The platform I'm laying on. They're arranged in a way to leave me spread eagle. Over the leather I can smell all kinds of musk, though the strongest one reminds me of Clint. I try to lift up my head, but the thing around my throat is too tight and instantly makes me choke again. My head throbs. Tears start to form in my eyes again as I try to think back. Where the fuck am I? Is this a prank of some kind? Maybe my friends at the dorm trying to scare me? Had I been drinking at a party? No, wait. I'm in Echo. That's the last place I remember being. I'm here for a project and I've been with my old friends. I was with Leo and I'd been at the diner. Suddenly all the horrible things that had happened that day come rushing back. Janice, Clint, Brian, the gun. Oh my God. Had that really happened? I struggle a bit more than try to think. I'd run to Leo's house. Leo. I don't know what happened to him. I left him with Duke. And then Brian. He'd been chasing me and he tried to break in. I start to breathe heavily again as I realise where I might be. Brian got into the house when I was in Leo's room. He attacked me. I look around. I'm in a small room, what looks like a living room of some kind. There's a couch to my right and a wall with a clock on it to the left ticking away. There's a window too, and along with the ticking, the wind blowing outside is the only other sound that I can hear. Looking down towards my legs, I can see what looks like a tiny kitchen with some cupboards and a countertop. Dishes and junk are piled high along the length of the counter, and it smells like cigarette smoke. Judging by the layout and size of the place, it looks like I'm in a trailer home. A small moan of terror escapes my lips. I'm in Brian's house. I remember Kurt telling me he lived in one. Tears start leaking in my eyes again, even though the crying is making my head throb all over again. All I can think about is what he was doing to Clint. No, I have to calm down. I don't want to attract any attention if he's actually nearby. After what happened in the diner, the cops have to be on their way, if they aren't already here. People eat in the diner all the time. One of my friends probably, would find it and call someone. I just have to wait until they find me. I swallow again, feeling my body break out from the cold sweat all over again. What is going on? They wanted something from us. I remember that, at least. But what? Duke has been saying something about seeing things that we might be responsible. I squeeze my eyes shut and shake my head, but then immediately stop when my head throbs from the movement. None of this makes any sense at all. Am I still dreaming? At that moment I hear a soft mumbling in the distance through the thin walls of the trailer. I freeze and hold my breath. It's a little ways off, but I'm almost positive that it's Duke. The high, weaselly whine mixed with the occasional smoker's cough is unmistakable. It's coming closer and I can start to make out what he's saying. Because we're already fucked here. Think we can just let him go and it'll be fine? I don't know who he's talking to. The sound of an accompanying heavy lumbering step gives me an idea. It's worth it though if we can figure out what the fuck is going on. It sounds like they're right up against the trailer now. I can hear them walking around it towards a small door on the right side of the kitchen. Leo ain't saying shit yet, but I think it might be the otter. He's the one I seen last week. The footsteps stop in front of the door and I listen hard, my heart pounding in my chest. I hope you haven't done anything to him. I didn't. Brian's uncharacteristic high-pitched voice sends a chill up my spine, my fur flaring out with it. You bet your ass you haven't. If you do anything, you fucked up shit to him. I stop breathing, staring at my terrified expression in the mirror. What I'm saying is we still got a chance to get out of this. What we've done is bad enough, but if we can get him to understand. When they stop talking, that's when I can hear Brian's heavy, laboured breathing. I'm not breathing at all, worried they'll be able to hear it even though they already know I'm here. I let it out with a gasp, but the door suddenly swings open and Duke comes up the steps, looking around before spotting me. Brian, you're one sick fuck. I tense up as a massive shadow appears behind him, and it feels like the entire trailer tips a bit as Brian makes his way up the same steps. Brian's presence is so imposing and frightening I don't even notice that Duke is now right next to me. I jump when he sets his hand on my left arm. I jerk my head to look at him wide-eyed. Hey, calm down. We ain't gonna hurt you. Brian chuckles and Duke shoots him a look. He turns his attention back to me, softening his expression. At least as much as he can with his scraggly, drug-fucked face. We just need to get some information from you. I open my mouth to speak, but all that comes out is a dry squeak. Brian chuckles again and makes his way to stand to my right. I cringe away from him in his stench of old sweat as he grins down at me with his yellow teeth. Brian, get some fucking water. Brian looks at Duke with a strange face before turning back to the kitchen. Hey, don't worry about him. I know this thing. Duke taps one of the walls with his finger. Looks bad, but we just got to hold you here for a bit. He's a queer. He likes it. Duke glares at him as Brian comes back from the kitchen with a ceramic mug. You're a queer too. Brian visibly bristles, and his face loses any of the sick humour it once had. Duke clears his throat. Things have been happening here, and we want to find out why. What? Duke furrows his brows like a kid trying to figure out something difficult. You see, people ain't right in the head here. No shit. Duke seems to immediately read my thought process because he holds up his hands and shakes his head. Yeah, I know. What we're doing ain't exactly right in the head either. Brian gives his dumb chuckle again, where I keep my face averted from him, partly because I really can't stand the smell. But we're all a little fucked up here. What I'm talking about is something else, like what you saw with Janice. I shift a little as I'm reminded about what happened in the diner. Is she dead? Duke looks genuinely sad. I don't know, and it's a damn shame. But you saw the way she came at me. That's the shit I'm talking about. I look at the weasel's waistband and immediately see the handgun tucked in his pants there. And I was hoping to stop it before any of this happened. But now, everything's gone to shit. Brian finishes for him and I can feel him move close to the platform I'm laying on. Again, I avoid eye contact, not wanting to provoke him in any way. Yep, and it's only going to get worse. Duke just looks at me, like that's all the information that I need. I don't know what you're talking about. I see a twitch of irritation in Duke's face and I hold my breath. I mean, what's happening out there? Duke shakes his head. What's happening everywhere? It wasn't just Janice that lost her mind. Duke looks back at the window suddenly, his fur standing on end. I look too, but all I see are the leaves and branches, late afternoon sun filtering through them. Duke's quiet for a while before he starts speaking again without turning around. It happened to my granddaddy, my daddy. Now it's happening to me. I close my eyes, wondering if Duke is just as crazy as Janice was. If he does, I doubt he even has a clue what he's doing right now. Dale's missing. Cynthia drove off into the desert. Duke turns around to look back at me. We saw your cat friend running down the street on the way here, saying something is after him. TJ? Thing is, we've all got something after us. Something bad. Won't let you leave when it starts. What's after you? I flinch as Brian speaks just above me, leaning down towards my face. I don't know what you guys are talking about. Bullshit! I flinch again as Duke's concerned demeanour immediately drops away. Why do you think we came to get Leo and you? He pauses like I should actually know the answer. I feel myself starting to panic again with two crazy hillbillies looming over my body. I don't know what. Duke slaps me and I gasp in shock. I saw you hanging around this fucking town before I even got you. Late at night, lurking around. I'm still cringing from the slap and I keep my eyes closed as if not seeing any of this is going to make it stop. And then once all your friends get you, all hell breaks loose. You think that's a fucking coincidence? He's quiet for a moment, and all I can hear is the rush of blood in my ears. Is this really happening? I feel Duke touch my arm again and I flinch in fear. Hey! I feel like he wants me to look at him, so I slowly open my eyes, tears spilling out as I do. The blurry shape of Duke dances in front of me. I'm not saying you did it or that you wanted it to happen. I don't say anything because I still don't know what he's talking about, but I know I can't tell him that. It's just you've got to know something, anything, so we can stop this. Duke starts to pet my arm and I shiver. Brian is breathing heavily next to me, and a glance at him shows that the expression is more interested now, almost eager. Duke still hasn't answered my question. It makes no sense they go so far as to kidnap us. But why? Why didn't you just ask us? Why all of this? I lift my hands weakly, making the platform rattle. Duke's face darkens. Because I've been asking Leo all week what the fuck you guys are doing, and he wouldn't say shit. Duke stops petting my arm and scratches behind his head. And at my ass, someone told me that you would know. I stare at him. What? Who? Someone I know, and it makes sense. Something bad happens, and if you don't fix it, it won't stop coming after you. I shut my eyes and almost sob. Says they know, and I thought it had to be Leo or you, considering what we've been seeing these past few weeks. Duke pauses. Or maybe one of your other friends? My mind briefly flashes to TJ. I don't know what you're talking about. I wait for another slap, but it doesn't come. I open my eyes again, and Duke is looking back out of the window. We're kind of protecting you too. I stare at the back of his head. Things are getting worse out there, and if we don't figure something out soon, we're all going to die. Duke's voice is dead and distant. Brian, though, touches my other arm and I gasp, shrinking away. He's smirking down at me, looking at my stomach, or crotch, somewhere around there. Brian, stop! Duke is turned back around, looking over me at the bear. We're not getting anywhere right now, and I gotta get back to the wolf. Even though Duke is the one that hit me, I'm terrified of the thought of being left alone with Brian. Duke sees my face. Don't worry, Chase. Even though you're lying to us, I don't plan to let this pervert have his way with you. Brian snorts. Brian knows what will happen if he does. Duke gives Brian a cold, callous stare, and this time Brian doesn't give his stupid grin back. You'd better hope your fuck buddy says something soon, because if not, we might have to get mean. Duke heads for the door, turning to look over his shoulder. Just feed him and make sure he doesn't escape, that's it. And with that, Duke briskly disappears out the door, a golden flash of afternoon light lighting up the dim trailer. Brian and I listen to the weasel's soft, anxious footsteps recede into the distance. As soon as the sound is gone, Brian stands up. I turn my head in time to see him whirl around and smash his fist into the wall. I jump as much as I can in my restraints before he does it again, this time slamming both of his fists against the wall. Fucking faggot! He screams so loudly my ears immediately start ringing. I think he's talking to me, so I brace myself for what I'm sure is going to be the worst moment of my life. He stalks right past me, not even looking at me. Instead, he strides up to the kitchen counter. Once there, he picks up a dirty pan, then raises it over his head before bringing it down with a crash. I hear a glass shatter before he does it again and again. "Goddamn cocksucking piece of shit!" He throws the pan against the room to crash into the wall. "I'll fucking kill him! I'll kill that fucking cunt!" I stare at him, my eyes wide as I watch him stamp his feet like a little kid. Then he slaps himself across the face twice. After that, he closes his hand into a fist and punches himself in the head repeatedly. It's with the force that would knock me out cold. It might be funny if I wasn't tied down to a contraption in the trailer belonging to Brian. Brian stumbles after what seems like the fifth blow and covers his face. His massive shoulders shake with sobs. Thinks he can do whatever the fuck he wants. Thinks he can boss me around. Brian whirls around and slams both his fists into the counter several more times, the sound of shifting glass accompanying it. "I'll kill him! Kill him! Kill him!" His voice crescendos in pitch and volume before he finally slumps against the counter, head in his hands, and he starts crying again. I breathe as quietly as I can, not wanting to draw any attention to myself. I'll get him. I'll fucking get him. Won't control me no more." Suddenly his quaking shoulders freeze. Slowly he turns, and with a sinking heart I realize he's looking right at me. The fur on his cheeks, already matted before, are now flat and shiny with wet. Snot runs from his nose down to his upper lip. Then I see red dripping from his left fist. The fur on the right is matted with blood as well. He watches me for a while and grins. "Am I funny to you?" I open my mouth, but nothing comes out. He suddenly strides right up the end of my platform, standing between my spread legs. I feel numb, the fear taking up every fibre of my being. I feel nothing else. "You like seeing him make fun of me?" I try to speak again, but still nothing comes out. I swallow. No. My lips tremble and my voice shakes. I've never stuttered so hard in my life. "You know what I'd do to you if I could?" Brian sneers down at me, the wet fur on his cheeks bristling out. "Oh, I swear to God I'd fucking tear your balls off right fucking now." He rests a huge hand on my crotch and presses down. I cringe and whine. "Please." Brian's grin only gets bigger and he rubs his crotch with his other hand as he watches me wince. "Oh, good. You already know how to beg." He leans forward towards my face, moving his hand to clamp over my mouth. "And then I'd hang you for hours." I stare at him, breathing hard through my nose, tears leaking down the sides of my face. His hand slides down from my mouth to my neck and he starts to squeeze. "Then I'd give you a little stool to stand on when you start to go out. Then I'd kick it away again." I gasp and gag, both from the squeeze and from his reeking breath. He stares hard at me and I can feel his crotch grinding up against mine. He's hard. Then he blinks and slowly pulls back. He watches me gasp and sob for a while before reaching down again. I try to turn my head away, letting out a moan of terror. But he doesn't grab my neck again. Instead, he prods and teases the fur, checking the skin on my neck. "Better not bruise. If that fucking cocksucker saw that." His expression darkens again. "If you fucking tell Duke about this." He raises a fist and I cringe. No, I won't, I swear." I turn my head away, eyeing his raised fist. He holds it there a while, watching me. He seems to be calculating something, like he's wondering if he can get away with what he's about to do. Then he seems to make up his mind. "Good." With that, he slams his fist down right into the centre of my torso, just below the ribs. My vision flashes and I hear a rasping, droning wheeze. I realise it's coming from my mouth. It goes on and on until there's no air left in me, and then I can't breathe in again. My vision goes black as I suffocate, writhing against the restraints, wanting to curl up into a little ball and disappear. It feels like hours, days before I finally get a sip of air. My mouth gapes as I try to suck it in faster. Brian is standing over me and I'm somehow surprised he's got a worried look on his face. He probably thinks he's killed me. Then my stomach starts to turn and lurch. Before I even realise I'm about to puke, a gush of vomit fills my mouth and I start to choke. "Shit!" Brian hurries to my side and I'm given a second heave mixed with a gag. He tips the platform over sideways. His huge paw pushes my face aside to look at the ground, and I watch as it all spills to the ugly shag carpet. When I finish, Brian slowly tilts the table back up, looking at me with disgust. At this point, I'm too tired to cry. Instead, I lay there in a daze, occasionally hacking or coughing. Brian goes to the kitchen, rustling around a while before returning with water and paper towels. He wipes my face and nose before tilting my head up to drink the water. Rinse and spit. He holds the mug there until I do as he says, and he gets down to his knees. I watch his head bob up and down as he busies himself with a mess on the floor, muttering about Duke finding out. I'm too numb to really care right now, though. Right now, I'm starting to realise that I might not survive this. Ryan calms down pretty quick after his tantrum. Once he cleans up the mess, he splays out on the couch and starts watching TV. It's some kind of cartoon about a pink cat, and he actually laughs along with the juvenile jokes. While this goes on, I lay quietly against my platform, trying not to start crying again. My mind keeps wandering back just hours ago, how everything seemed fine for the most part. I keep wishing I could go back to the beginning of the week. Thinking about that makes me sentimental. I'm longing to see Leo, TJ, Carl, Jenna, and even Flynn again. Where are they all right now? Duke said things were bad out there. Are they all in some sort of trouble? If that's the case, the cops should be here by now. Someone would have gotten the word out, wouldn't they? If people were murdering each other, like what happened to Janice, there's no way that wouldn't be the case. Brian lets out another explosive laugh, wiggling his feet on the armrest of the couch. Earlier he tried to feed me some dried cereal. It was like cardboard in my mouth. After only a handful, I couldn't eat any more. I'm just thankful he's preoccupied with something else right now. There's a soft knock at the door and Brian jumps, quickly changing the channel to golf before he gets up and lumbers over the door. He pauses, then rifles through some magazines on a small table next to the couch. He pulls out a handgun that looks cartoonishly small in his hands before making his way to the door. I weakly turn my head in his direction and watch Brian open the door a crack. He chuckles. World's going to shit and you're still coming here for more, hey? Brian pushes the door open a bit more and I catch sight of a skinny, malnourished polecat. Clint is looking up at Brian, appearing even more dishevelled than usual. So how are we doing? Clint had stepped up onto the first step and looked into the trailer, immediately spotting me. He stares, the shock in his face almost comical. Brian turns to see what he's looking at, if he's forgotten that I was even there. He gives a start before shoving Clint back out the door. I'm full today. Already got someone taking your spot. Clint's now out of my line of sight, where I can hear him shuffling around in the dead vegetation. Please, I really need something right now. We can do it outside. There's a moment of silence as Brian seems to contemplate that. No, I've got some business to take care of. Tomorrow, maybe. Clint starts to whine again, but Brian swings the door shut with a bang. Heh, fucking dopehead. Brian walks back into the room, looking down at me, then back at the TV. Probably shouldn't have let him see you, though. He mumbles before sitting back down and switching the channel back to the cartoon. I stare up at my reflection. Even from here I can see that my eyes are bloodshot, the fur on my face matted. There are dark spots on my shirt too, and distantly I wonder if Brian had broken ribs when he punched me. Then I remember his hand had been bleeding when he did that. I feel strange right now, numb. It kind of feels good after the whirlwind of emotions I had earlier. I still haven't caught up to everything that's happened since I was in that diner. Would I ever be able to? Would I have time if Brian planned to? A tinge of panic pierces through my fog of disassociation, and I clench my eyes shut, screwing up my face as I try not to start crying again. Brian snorts again at something on the TV. I open my eyes to the distraught Otter laying on the wooden torture contraption. Why is there a mirror on your ceiling? I surprise myself a little by asking the question. Apparently, I really don't give a fuck at this point. I see Brian look over at me from my peripheral vision. Hey, you really want to know? I shrug the best I can, continue to stare passively up at the ceiling. The movement ends, electric tingles from my arms, which are completely numb at this point. Well, Brian shifts around on the couch as he tries to get a better look at me. When I has my fun, I likes to see them see what I'm doing. I stare up at the mirror, my expression still blank. I mean, it's not just about what I'm feeling. What they're feeling is important too. Fear. That's what Brian likes. Sure, I can choke you all I want and cut you all I want. When I do that, you're not thinking about what's actually happening. Brian shifts into a sitting position, now more interested in our conversation and his cartoons. I realise now I've probably made a mistake. Want to see? I keep my face blank, staring at myself. I don't say anything. Brian gets up anyway and comes around to stand above my head, blocking my view of the mirror. His reeking stench still fills my nostrils, but still I try not to give him the satisfaction of seeing how afraid I'm starting to become. His massive hands reach around my head and start to fill with something I can't see. With one quick motion, the strap comes back down over my neck and my eyes widen. I grip my teeth and try to press my head as hard as I can into the platform behind my head to lessen the strain. It's not a lot of pressure, but it's enough to make me want to gag. Brian chuckles again. See, you're probably only thinking about how it's hard to breathe right now, just trying to figure out how to make it stop, but... Brian leans back, revealing a terror-stricken otter on the ceiling, his eyes bulging, teeth bared. Now you see what's happening to you, your brain telling you, yeah, this is really fucking happening. The leather squeaks a little as he pulls it down tighter. I start to writhe at this point and I see my tongue sticking out my face, a mask of horror. You feel more, and that's what I like. Brian comes back into my vision, his expression different. He's really searching my face now, like he's looking for something. Maybe you like it too. Finally, with a final squeak of leather, Brian lets go and I gasp hungrily for air. Brian pets my head while I cough and gasp for breath. Don't exaggerate, that wasn't nothing. He moves away again and slumps back into the couch, pulling at his crotch. Your buddy Clint gets it way worse. I choose not to stare at the choking otter on the ceiling, instead look out the window, feeling fresh tears roll down my face. I'm not sure if it's from the choking or the black hole in my chest. I watch the leaves rustling around in the wind and think about where the others are, why no one's come to help me. Finally, I turn my head back to the ceiling. The blank expression has returned. Brian continues to chuckle at his cartoons. Despite myself, I ask another question. Have you ever killed someone? For the first time, Brian ignores me. I don't say anything for the rest of the day. I stare into the darkness, the only faint source of light coming through the moonlit leaves through the window. It's been less than 24 hours since I've been kidnapped. Still, it makes no sense that someone hasn't found me. Is what Duke said about the town true? I wonder what Leo's doing right now, if what he's going through is just as bad. I doubt it is. At least Duke seems slightly less unhinged. I give a soft, trembling sigh, my head still throbbing from the day's events. Thunderous snoring from Brian is literally shaking the platform I'm on, and though I drifted off a few times, I can't sleep. He's right next to me, his stained couch apparently doubling as his bed. I shift around on the contraption for what feels like the 100th time, trying to get comfortable when I feel something. There's more give in my right arm than I remember. In fact, it's incredibly loose. I pause and experimentally wiggle my arm around before easily pulling my hand out from the restraint. I freeze, disbelieving, not wanting to believe in case it isn't true somehow. Painfully, I crane my neck to look at my right arm. Though it's dark, I can see that my arm is clearly free, my elbow on the board, hand in the air. I swallow hard, listening to Brian's snores again to make sure he's actually asleep. I try to keep my breathing even, not wanting to make any more sound than I need to. I'm almost sobbing with relief at this point. Now I'm able to partially sit up and make short work of the left arm restraint. Fully sitting up now, I do away the final 2 ankle restraints and slide off the table quietly. Brian is still snoring at full volume and it covers up what little sound I make. Making my way over the messy floor, I find the steps and try to stumble down and to open the door. Incredibly, there's no squeaking or rattling as I do. Before I know it, I'm outside in the cool air. I run through the woods and onto the road, sobbing with joy now as I see Leo's house. The lights are on as I'm running towards it. I think I even see Carl's horns through the window. I run up the steps and onto the porch and bang on the door. Leo, Carl, I got out. Open the door. I try the handle and it opens, swinging inward. The blackness. I stare, trying to comprehend. You really fell for that? I hear my own voice, but it isn't me that said it. Instead, it's higher pitched, like I'm hearing it from a video recording rather than my own throat. Then I'm sucked into the blackness and slammed hard back down onto a wooden platform. All at once I realise what happened and my heart feels like it drops through the platform. Of course, a dream. I'm back in the hot, stifling trailer. It looks even darker than it did in my dream. I close my eyes and start to cry quietly. It feels like I've just found out that I'm locked up in the Psycho's trailer all over again. I turn my head and look out the window above Brian, longing for some daylight. And then I see two white eyes set against a black face staring back in at me. I jump. What the fuck? Am I still dreaming? Then I see the two beige-coloured ears above the head. Kudzu? I gasp again, quieter. I'm overcome with relief once again, but the fear that I'm still dreaming is almost overpowering it. I wave my left hand as much as I can, but I'm not sure he can see it. I realise that none of the light from the window is falling on me. Kudzu moves to the side then back again, squinting, clearly trying to see inside. I think about making a noise, call out his name, but I've no idea how deep of a sleeper Brian is. As if on cue, Brian gives the loudest snore and rolls over. Kudzu seems to have heard it, his big ears perking before he looks down. My heart hurts just losing sight of him when I strain at my bonds. Brian seems to be waking up though, mumbling something in his sleep. No, you're dead. I pull with my right arm again in case my dream had been something. It doesn't budge. Fucking cunt. Brian's really starting to kick around now, his massive naked form rolling over onto his stomach, rubbing his face into the pillow. He starts to make loud gasping sounds and he gets to his knees on the bed. Back off! He holds his hands up, snarling. You're dead! You're dead! I stare at him, almost forgetting about Kudzu. His eyes are open, they snap to me, his hands still out. No! No! His face is etched with horror, eyes wide and white in the darkness. He backs up against the back of the couch as he continues to stare. I stare back at him, unsure what he's going to do. After about 10 seconds, his expression starts to melt from horror to confusion. I continue to stare back, bracing for another explosion from him, for whatever reason. His shoulders droop again and he frowns at me. Well, did you see her? My mouth is dry, so I have to swallow a few times before I can answer. Who? Brian doesn't respond and starts to look around the trailer. I see Kudzu starting to poke his head up again. At this point, I made it up in my mind that I want to escape tonight. I'm not going to spend another minute with this maniac. Making a decision that could have been life or death so suddenly is terrifying and exhilarating. I don't give myself time to think about it. Brian. He doesn't answer, straining to get up and look around. Brian, I have to go to the bathroom. Brian sighs as he flips on the light. Kudzu drops out of view again. Brian heaves a huge sigh before turning to the counter. He reaches for a pan and dumps out some murky water into the sink. I wrinkle my nose. He shrugs at me. What? This'll do. No, I have to use your toilet. My stomach is feeling really bad right now. Brian turns and really looks at me. Like what? You got a puke? I shift on the platform. No, I think I have diarrhea. Brian pulls a look of extreme disgust, which is kind of funny for someone who apparently never showers. Oh, come on. He glares at me like it's my fault I might be sick. He looks around for a while and back down at the pan. The bear seems to quickly disregard that idea and sets it back down on the counter. He comes over next to me and starts to undo the restraints. If you try anything... No, I promise. I just really need to go. Brian grumbles as he starts to roughly undo my restraints. I take care not to look at his crotch as it's pressed uncomfortably close to my face. As he pulls my right arm out, I gasp in shock and pain. It feels like a million needles are poking through it as he pushes my arm down next to my body. Wait, fuck! Brian pauses as he watches me grimace in pain and I worry he's getting off on it. At that moment, though, there's some rustling next to the window and I try to groan over it. Oh, fuck! The bear looks at me, bewildered and annoyed. What? Now my dream seems even more ridiculous that I'd so easily been able to run off. Everything's fallen asleep. Just take it slower. Brian sighs even louder and gets to work on my left arm anyway. This time he doesn't yank my arm out though and lets me slowly move it on my own. It's not nearly as bad as my right arm, which is still violently tingling. I have to grip my teeth as I move it to rest on my chest. Luckily my legs are fine. I'm able to move them easily after Brian takes them out. It makes me worry about what I'm going to try since I'm not nearly as strong as I should be. Brian is clearly on guard as he helps me sit up from the contraption, keeping his distance as he holds onto my arm. I sit there a moment, letting the circulation return back to my limbs as I try not to fall over from the dizziness. Brian finally gives a growl of annoyance and pulls me off the wooden platform. I realise that this is the moment I have to make my move. There's nothing nearby for me to grab, so instead I swing with everything I have to smash my fist up against the side of Brian's face. Something cracks in my hand and pain runs up my arm. I gasp and cringe and Brian grunts. Brian pauses and slowly brings his hand up to feel the side of his face. I guess I'd hoped I'd be able to knock him out with one punch. But doing that as an otter to a bear, especially a bear like Brian, would have been quite the feat. Brian does seem stunned though, and that's all I need as I take in a huge breath and scream as loud as I can. Kudzu! Brian whirls on me, swinging his fist along with him. I duck immediately, covering my head with one arm, the other still locked in Brian's grasp. He only partially misses, his fist catching top my head and my arm. It knocks me to the ground and I sit there in a daze. I don't have long to collect myself because Brian is pulling a foot back to kick me. Shut up! I roll to the side and start trying to back away while I'm crouched, but Brian yanks me up by my arm, my head jerking back with a force. Now I'm starting to wonder if Kudzu ended up leaving. If that is the case, then I'm definitely dead because there's no way I'm going to break his grasp. As I'm thinking this, the door bangs open. Brian is in the middle of drawing his fist back when it happens and he freezes looking over at the door. Kudzu stands there, his eyes wide behind his black mask, chest heaving. He's scared, I can tell. Brian's shot gives me the opening I was looking for. I reach in between his legs and grab his balls. Weirdly enough, the first thought I have is about how fucking big it is. It takes both my hands to wrap around it fully, and when I do, I twist and yank down as hard as I can. I pour all of my fear and anger into the attack, snarling as I do. The scream that Brian lets out is so high-pitched I feel like every glass in the trailer is going to explode. This attack is all I have left, so when his retaliation comes I don't do anything to defend myself. Luckily it's not a punch or kick, rather he grabs the fur on the back of my head along with my shirt and tries pulling me back. My face stretches back as I stubbornly hold on and just yank down even harder. His sack is stretched and distorted so badly it's barely even recognisable as balls. His screaming suddenly cuts off with the sound of a deep, sickening smack. Immediately Brian's body crumples onto me as he falls onto his hands and knees. It happens in a way that he's splayed over me, his face inches from mine. I have time to smell his gag-inducing breath before the sound happens again. This time I see Kudzu swinging something down hard from overhead and Brian's head jolts. I watch as his eyes lose their focus on me and he slumps down. I turn my head sideways as he comes to rest on my body, crushing the air from my lungs. Kudzu is there immediately and pushes Brian's body aside to the point of being able to pull me out. He pulls me into a sitting position next to him. Are you okay? He's shaking and I can hear his ragged breath in my ear. The contrast between engulfed in Brian's stench to smelling Kudzu's shampooed fur and peppermint breath is striking. I can't speak and instead I lean against Kudzu and wrap my arms around him as I sob. Kudzu holds me as he looks me over. Can you walk? I nod silently as I press my face into the fur on his shoulder. All right, come on. We can't stay here. He stands slowly, keeping me in the embrace as he guides me towards the door. I don't remember much about the walk back to Kudzu's house aside from stilted flashes of dirt and sagebrush. It's dark and hot and my shirt immediately starts to stick to my sweaty fur. My legs are so numb that I don't even know if I'm moving them right. Kudzu has to hold on to me the entire way so I don't fall over. Crickets chirp all around us, but every few minutes I hear shouting and screams in the distance. I try to look over my shoulder to see if Brian is coming after us, but Kudzu grunts and tells me to keep watching my steps. Some circulations return to my legs. I'm able to at least match Kudzu's stride over the uneven dirt road. Still, it feels like 1,000 needles are stabbing up my feet and legs in waves with every step I take. I'm genuinely afraid I'm going to wake up any second and find myself still stuck in Brian's trailer. None of this seems real. I'm still watching my feet in the ground so I don't notice Kudzu's house, then I almost kick the bottom step to his rusty trailer. Just the sight of a trailer is sending chills up my spine, even though Brian's trailer looks very different compared to Kudzu's. We stand in front of his door for a while as the raccoon fishes through his pockets for his keys. It's made extra difficult with me hanging on to him. I can stand on my own if you... Got it. Kudzu whips out a small gold-coloured key for it, sliding it into the lock. Once we're inside, Kudzu immediately kicks the door closed behind us while reaching back to turn the deadlock. The inside of Kudzu's trailer is the opposite of its exterior. It's brightly lit and tidy. Nothing like Brian's place. It's a little cramped as any trailer would be. The furniture is arranged neatly and the kitchen is spotless. Everything looks way newer than the trailer is on the outside. I imagine the raccoon did a lot of work to get it to look like this. Kudzu quickly guides me to a small love seat and makes us to lay me down. I put my hand against his chest, feeling my stomach turn. Wait, I think I'd rather sit up. Do you need anything? Food or a drink? Kudzu's looking into my eyes with his dark browns, the brows above them furrowed in deep concern. I nod slowly so as not to upset my stomach again. Just water, please. Sure. Kudzu quickly hurries off to the kitchen and I slowly lean into the cushions behind me. I'm not tired at all, but I feel numb, and not just physically. My arms throb and it feels like the leather straps are still bound around my wrists. It even feels like they're being pulled by an invisible force. Like if I relaxed, my arms would float back into that fixed position. I shudder, hugging my body, then look around trying to find something else to focus on. A grouping of 3 picture frames on a small side table next to the love seat catches my attention. From where I'm sitting, I can see Kudzu in one of them, beaming at the camera. It's actually kind of weird to see him smiling like that. There's an arm around his neck and I start to lean over a bit to see who it is. Here. Kudzu appears in front of me again, holding out a glass of water. I straighten back up against the cushions. Once I take the glass, he holds out his other hand, with 2 white pills resting in the black pad of his palm. Acetaminophen, if you're in pain. I definitely am, so I take it in the glass without a word and swallow it down. For a second my stomach stours and I feel like it's going to come back up, but only for a second. Kudzu steps back and watches me. Even though his face maintains its stoic, almost glare, I see his hands fidgeting together in front of his stomach. I nod weakly to the recliner across from me. You want to sit or something? Kudzu seems to consider, then walks over to the recliner. He sits on the very edge of the cushion, back rigid, continuing to stare at me. I take another sip of water, less this time so as not to upset my stomach. It looks like he wants to say something, but keeps silent, lips pressed together. Kudzu watches me the whole time. What's wrong? Kudzu opens his mouth and closes it, thinking for opening it again. Are you okay? Yeah, sort of. I mean, I'm not going to die, I think. I'm not really sure if I am completely okay. Everything still feels numb. My thoughts feel sluggish too, and something that's been nagging at the back of my mind since I got you suddenly bubbles up to the surface. Did you call the police? I absent-mindedly reach my phone in my pocket, but it's not there. I have no idea where it is at this point. Was it still at Leo's house? There's a tight look of consternation on Kudzu's face. Phones aren't working. Even my landline isn't working. My foggy brain tries to process this. What? Why, did the phone lines break or something? Kudzu shakes his head. I don't know. Should we walk to my car or something and drive to Peyton? I look back out the pitch-black window. We need to tell someone right now. Janice. And Leo's still out there. There's no way Janice hasn't been found by now. There should be police everywhere. Where are the cops? I turn back to Kudzu, feeling sick again. Kudzu doesn't say anything and he's got a strange look on his face, like he's trying to figure out how to tell me something. Finally he stands up. I'll figure something out. Listen, I think you need to get some rest. I frown. But we need to get someone out here. What if Brian comes after me? I shrink in on myself with the thought, feeling goosebumps erupt over my arms. Kudzu steps closer to me and awkwardly reaches out to put a hand on my shoulder. You'll be fine. Do you want to lay down in my bed? I don't say anything, my head's still trying to catch up. It's a water bed, Kudzu adds, as that makes the offer more tempting. He thinks. You hungry? Have some muffins, it might help you get to sleep. I just shake my head. What No, I want to get the fuck out of here. A loud pop makes me jump and I stand up. I'm not sure what I'm about to do, but Kudzu reaches out gently to hold on to me before pulling me away from the window. Faintly I can hear some shouting outside, but it's far away. What was that? Is someone shooting? I look at Kudzu, starting to feel desperate. He puts an arm around me at the same time, moving towards the end of the trailer where a big bed is tucked in. I don't know. A lot of things are happening right now, so I think we should stay here to be safe, okay? For now, at least. I hold on to the raccoon, unsure what to do. Listen. He holds me by both arms and I look back at him. You got to trust me that we can't leave right now. I'll explain it all after you've rested for a bit. He pauses. I can tell you're not really here right now. Here right now? You'll feel better once you wake up, all right? The thought of laying down is tempting despite feeling like I'm going insane. If I sleep, I don't have to think, just blank my mind and rest. My head is buzzing and I feel like laying down might straighten things out. Kudzu gently but firmly forces me to sit down on the bed. Despite his slender build, I can feel the strength in his lean muscles. But what about Brian and Duke? Kudzu slowly pushes me back down onto the bed, the water underneath the surface sloshing faintly. I haven't been on an actual water bed for years. Carl used to have one. Where is Carl? Where is everyone? I want to go back to the motel and find my friends again, but Kudzu seems adamant on keeping me here. I got Leo's gun, so it on the ground when I went to check on you guys. He must be able to tell from the look on my face I'm not at ease, as he reaches out again to rest a hand on my chest. It's still awkward, but it's comforting at least. I'll be here all night. Nothing's going to happen. That does make me feel better, at least well enough to maybe get some sleep. Okay. I stare at the ceiling as I lay back. I still feel numb, but in a way that helps me blank my mind. In what feels like less than a minute, I pass out.